Track 2, Fear and Courage. This book can be difficult for a lot of young people. It's not difficult in the way that calculus is difficult or in the way that dunking a basketball is difficult. This book is more difficult in the way that skydiving is difficult. You can read all about skydiving, watch lots of videos, look up statistics on how rare skydiving deaths are, and talk to lots of skydivers, but it's still difficult to jump. Reference 28. The challenge at hand is overcoming fear. As you read this book, you are likely to encounter a lot of fears. This is normal. Feeling fearful may make you think that this book is intended for fearless individuals. It is not. In fact, I'd argue that fearless people do not exist. We tend to think of fearlessness as an admirable quality, when it is actually a horrible one. If you were fearless, you'd likely end up dead by carelessly crossing the street in traffic and being hit by a car. Fear has a purpose. A better quality than fearlessness is to be courageous, which is to have fears and overcome them when it's important to. The most powerful speaker and writer about courage is Dr. Brené Brown. She writes, "Vulnerability is not winning or losing. It's having the courage to show up and be seen when we have no control over the outcome. Vulnerability is not weakness. It's our greatest measure of courage." Reference 29. Vulnerability is not knowing victory or defeat. It's understanding the necessity of both. It's engaging. It's being all in. Vulnerability is not weakness, and the uncertainty, risk, and emotional exposure we face every day are not optional. Reference 30. You can't get to courage without walking through vulnerability. Period. Reference 31. Pursuing the ideas laid out in this book will require a certain amount of courage on your part so that you can overcome your fears. Don't worry, courage is a skill that can be practiced and you can get better at it. You're not alone in your fears. All of the other young people reading this book have fears very similar to yours. And believe it or not, I have a tremendous number of fears in creating this book. In our current culture, we're encouraged to hide our fears. We're told that being afraid is a sign of weakness when it is a completely natural and essential part of being human. I'm going to share with you about my fears in releasing this book so you can see this process in action. Don't give me too much credit for being vulnerable here. Obviously, I overcame these fears. Otherwise, you wouldn't be reading this book. And I have to admit, I've also never had the courage to actually go skydiving.